Hey gang, Jeff Horowitz with Dennis in the Know. We're at SmileCon and the New Orleans Jazz Band is playing. There's a lot of energy in the room. We just finished our podcast. It's been such an exciting day here. I'm with my best friends in the world, Dr. Jennifer Bell, Dr. Chad Duplantis, and today we have a very, very special guest, Melissa Turner. She's a hygienist. She actually has her own podcast called I Woman, but she also serves to help with brand strategy for a lot of companies in the dental industry. And she has been a featured guest on many other programs, including with our friends David Rice and Pam. So please welcome Melissa. It's so good to have you. Thanks for joining us.
It's a pleasure to be here, and you'll have to excuse me. I lost my voice, so we're coming back. Right? It's all this.
That's
We got
right.
What this is for.
A big cheers to all of you. Yes.
Look at that.
It's 11 a.m. somewhere.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's my
right.
favorite saying. So
All right, Melissa, tell our audience all about you, your journey, being here at SmileCon. Lay it out.
I mean, where do you want
I
to
know.
start? That's a big
I know.
ask.
Let's just start with who you are, what you're doing in the dental industry, because folks may not know.
Yeah, sure. So, a lot of what I'm known for is as a speaker and a dental influencer. I still have to put that in quotes because
I know. What is that?
Yeah.
Well, I remember about 6 or 7 years ago on LinkedIn, I was like, I wonder what would happen if I put the words dental and influencer together. And I'm like, either this is going to flop or it's going to be really good.
I love it.
Right?
I love it.
you're ahead of your time.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Trendsetter.
Yeah.
So it's been good. And so now it's kind of balancing that with the traditional key opinion leader, speaker type roles, and it's a work in progress, right? So I do that, and then I work on brand strategy. But then I also own several businesses, a conference, and an award program, and just having fun.
That's
It's just
awesome.
fun.
It's like when you started that trend of putting your comb in your back pocket,
Yes.
in your jeans.
I did do that.
Yeah,
I did
yeah.
do that for a while. And then I tried to leave it in the part. That didn't work out so well. But no, all kidding
here we
aside,
So here we are.
I will say,
Part now.
let's go back 3 years. And I was at a conference in Orlando, and I heard several people speak. And believe it or not, I've watched this young lady's stock rise over the past 3 years. And this was one of the ones that I wanted on the show. It took 3 years for
Here
us
we
to
are.
do that.
Here we are.
But here
Fun.
we are. And you know what the best part about it is? She didn't have a freaking clue as to who I was.
How funny.
Honestly,
I don't actually know. who
yeah.
you are.
We're still trying to figure
Yeah,
out
we're
who
trying to
you
figure
are.
out.
I'm still
She's
Googling
like,
right now.
holy,
There
did I
Who
really
is
meet this
Naven
guy?
Johnson?
Yeah, who is Naven?
David R. I will
Yeah.
say there are times where he still texts me and I have to look up his number.
Yeah.
Make sure
Yeah.
I know who
Wait,
that is.
Chad who?
Yeah.
But no, it's an
Yeah.
honor to finally have you on the show, and we're just glad that you chose to be with us this afternoon for probably your last interview of the day.
Last
To slum it
interview.
through
Yeah.
right to the end.
I mean, I've watched her go from podcast booth to podcast booth, but I just want to tell you, this one's the best.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah.
And Jennifer alluded to this early. So how long did you practice clinical dental hygiene? And then what was the aha moment where you're like, I can offer so much more than what I'm able to offer in the clinical setting?
That's a good question.
What? Why are you
I
laughing
was
at me?
watching Austin give shady eyes to the jazz musicians because of the volume.
Oh,
They were
okay.
hitting some high notes, and he was like,
Mark, can you edit this
It's
out?
getting very judgy around here.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm just
"Where's
saying.
the music?"
Sorry. Well, so I worked clinically.
Excuse the interruption.
Here we go. Okay. I worked clinically in a lot of different offices around the states. At one point, I was juggling 4 different state licenses, and that was insane.
Oh,
Just,
screw
the CE
that.
came
Why?
out like that. Well, my husband decided that he likes to go to school for a very long time in different places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
God
of
bless
course,
him.
like,
Yeah.
let's go along. London, England. Sure, that's fine. Okay.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
okay,
Oh,
I
man,
have to
yeah.
go,
Yeah.
I'll go, right. And so we were all over the place. But when I was working clinically, I was just antsy. You know how it is in the chair. You're full time in the chair. You don't get a lot of breaks. You don't have maybe a creative outlet like you should. And so I think my lesson was I was in the chair full time, I was like, just get me out of here. Like, I love my patients. I love what I'm doing, but there's got to be more. And I'm always a big picture person. And so, to me, I see change that needs to happen in dentistry. I see where we're going, and I'm like, oh, let me just help us get there.
Yeah.
What can I do to help us get there? I mean, I feel like we might be like-minded here.
Yeah.
Yes, very much.
What do you think? Like, we actually just finished our podcast and we talked about the future of dentistry, and we each had a contribution of a product or where we think the trends are heading. And I'm really curious from a hygiene perspective. Number one, a product most hygienists couldn't live without. What is it? And number two, what's going to be the product of the future? What's the trend moving in the hygiene world where you're like, in 10 years, you won't walk into a practice that has hygiene without this?
You know what? I'm going to keep this simple. I'm even going to take the hygiene off of it.
Okay, fair.
For me, it is virtual care. It is so underutilized right now. Whether you're a hygienist or a dentist or a specialist, I don't get why a lot of practice owners and clinicians aren't understanding it. They're yet, oh, it's not for me, it's not for me. And I'm like, no, it is. It is. You have to start doing it now, because in 5 years you are going to have holes in your schedule. You're going to be struggling to get patients. You don't know why, right? And it's because of the virtual care and it's the other mindsets that go with that, right? It's like, what can we do to make this easier for our patients? And I think oftentimes we forget that patients don't want to be in the dental office. Yeah. Whether they're the hygienist or the dentist.
Right.
I think we forget that. And so even to get a patient to walk through our doors was a huge feat.
Yep.
It took me, okay, you're gonna make fun of me, but it took me
Well, we're going to make fun of you anyway.
it took me as a hygienist and as a mom, it took me 3 years to get my kids in to see a dentist. 3 years. And that was, I mean, I was like, okay, I'm gonna see who was online scheduling. Well, nobody did.
Yeah.
I tried to call the offices, but it was always after hours.
Yeah.
And then finally I made an appointment and whatever, and had to navigate my insurance. And then COVID hit, right? And so then I'm like, I'm not going to the dental office. I'm not taking my kids in there.
Yeah.
And years went by. 3 years as a hygienist to get my kids. Of course, I wasn't worried because I'm like, I can just do what I need
Right.
to do, right? But if we can make it more convenient for our patients, it's going to benefit us as practice owners and clinicians.
Access.
Yeah.
I love that. So true
Yep.
for that. You know, that's just, there's so much that resonates with that, is making it convenient. And in turn, you're creating an experience. And that's kind of my buzzword. That's the buzzword that makes me tick, is creating
It's
an
not
experience.
impetus.
No.
It's not
Today's
impetus.
experience.
Impetus was the word of the day. He used
That
it like
was before lunch.
16
That was
times
before
before lunch.
I wouldn't even know how
Yeah.
to use that. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm a writer and I don't
Yeah.
know how to use
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, it's a big problem for men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Oh God, this just went in the
Yeah.
wrong direction.
Yeah, no, I
Awesome.
didn't mean that. I
That's IMPOTUS. Thank
Yeah.
you. Okay.
Okay.
Nice.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
I have
impetus.
been using it wrong.
Yeah. Okay.
All this time.
All right. Cheers to that. Hey,
Cheers,
rock
guys.
on. There we go.
Cheers.
This is fun.
Okay.
Let's
All
do
right.
it. So, I'd
Don't be jealous,
imagine
Billy Tanner.
that leads into your brand strategy.
Yeah.
So tell us about that.
Yeah. So, what happened was I had this dream as a fresh hygienist, out of school. I'm like, I want to work with all these product and service companies.
Fresh
and
genist. Let's just
Fresh-
merge the two together.
Hashtag
Fresh
gen.
genist.
Hashtag
Yeah.
fresh
You were getting
Yeah.
a lot of good hashtags.
You just hashtag that.
Smart Assery
Yeah.
came out
Yeah.
today
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Smart Assery was a good one. No,
All right,
not
so-
for
Is
you.
that trending yet?
No, it is.
Described
They,
us.
we were
It was actually like
described
you guys really
on
epitomized-
the podium.
epitomized
Yeah.
Smart assery.
All right.
Smart
So as a
assery.
fresh genist,
So as a fresh dentist, hashtag fresh dentist, I was like, this is so cool. I want to work with all these product and service companies, but how? There's no path to how to do
No.
that.
Or book
No,
that you
there
could read
isn't.
that
No.
would tell you.
And even like mentors are
No.
like, well, you just got a network. Well, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Right. So what happened was I just fell in love with marketing. And so I started writing copy for some of these brands, doing their social, just starting there and realized, oh, I love products. I want to help launch products. I want want to help my colleagues learn about these products. And so that just morphed all into brand strategy. And I do a lot of coaching to help professionals level up, as we're talking about Kelly Tanner, right? Level up their professional self so that they can leverage it more. And one of the things I work with a lot of startups, and what I see is there's a lot of startup founders who are thrown into being the face of the company, whether they want to be or not. They're like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. So I'll work with them to help they become, like, make them an influencer, a thought leader, and then it'll help their business grow as well. Yeah. So that's where the brand strategy kind of comes in for corporations and for individuals. Yeah.
So you talk about like I heard your why in there. And I'm a big why guy, but you were talking about things, and what you mentioned, it just really hit home, because what she wants to bring in her coaching is what we wanted to bring in dentistry, is that, you know, our corporate partners, our friends, the people that kind of patted our backs, we want to kind of bring that to the masses, you know, and I love what you're saying.
So I think there's a deeper sense too, where, you know, we all get so engrossed in what we do that it's hard sometimes not to feel like a technician, right?
Yes.
Like we're good at all of these clinical tasks, but we want to use our brains. Like we have these brains that just have ideas and you know, creative flow. And sometimes I think we feel limited in dentistry in being able to use that. So, I mean, I applaud you for kind of getting in tune with that so early in your career and saying, you know what, I've got this. I need to be using this more, because that's really where I can have a bigger impact than just doing clinical tasks, even if you are very clinically adept, right?
Yeah, and it's almost a sense of duty.
Right.
A sense of like, if you can see, if you know the change is coming and you want to make an impact or whatever, like, it's your duty to do that. And
Absolutely.
so if you can do it, like, you gotta. You just have to.
Well, and I think it feeds your soul. Like, all souls need to be fed in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
Clinical has value, and we're all practicing
Of course,
clinically
yeah.
as well. But then, you know, to continue to have community with each other, to grow, to help others succeed, that's what keeps you engaged in the industry long term, right? Because in the trenches every day, it gets lonely sometimes for providers. It gets difficult if you've been yelled at enough by patients and staff and whatever's been going on. Like, there's a lot of tension potentially. So then you have these other outlets that feed your soul in different ways, that keep you engaged and excited about the profession. That's how we're going to keep good people doing
Absolutely.
dentistry for a long time. Because it can be super exhausting, physically, emotionally, mentally. So I love what you're doing for the hygiene profession and for dentistry in general, to keep us engaged, to keep us excited about where the future of dentistry is headed, and, you know, and wanting to be a part of it and not leave yet.
Well, it's even all about networking and relationships. Like, I don't like the word networking, but dentistry, it's so much about relationships. Yeah. I'm here today because Rich from Mango said, hey, Melissa, you got to get on this. You got to get to know my friends.
That's right.
And I'm like, okay. Yeah. And like, even what he's doing with Mango, with that technology, with that, the phones and the voice, it's amazing.
I love virtual. I love what it's allowed us to do. And I mean, you work with mobile dentistry and teledentistry, so I know you get this, but there is still something about being face-to-face with people and making those kinds of connections that, you know, it is a connection virtually, but it is not the same kind of connection. And you know, I'm the old-timer in the group, and so it's always been important to me, but I hope that we can maybe influence, I will use the word influencer. I hope that we can influence the younger generation to see how important in-person communication is.
It's vital.
Yeah.
And it'll never go away. And that's
Right.
the thing with virtual care. What I've seen when I coach clients, and when I see these clinicians who have been using virtual care for years now, it just makes the schedule more efficient. And I feel like in dentistry, and I'm sure you guys have your own opinions about this, but we're very inefficient in the way we run our businesses,
for
and
sure.
the clinical models, and even the way we sometimes even do an MOD. You know, it's just inefficient. How
Yeah,
they-
there's a reason most dentists are not on like the Forbes list.
Yeah.
Yeah. Efficiency, not really our thing.
Yeah. We are a bit of a
Or
creature of
sound
habit.
financial
Yeah.
decisions. Yes.
All right,
Yes.
so let's talk about your other interests. We've definitely got virtual care, teledentistry, and mobile dentistry,
Yeah.
which we didn't really even
Right.
touch on. So let's definitely dive into that a bit.
Yeah.
So, what is mobile dentistry? I've had some exposure to it. One of our previous guests, Crystal Springs,
Yeah.
doing some of that.
Yes, you know, Kristen.
We love Crystal.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I also lectured in California where some of the companies out there, like take Facebook for instance, are bringing mobile dentistry to their employee population. So it's kind of creating its own marketplace. So talk a little bit about what you're seeing and your involvement in mobile dentistry.
Yeah, well, there's a term for that.
Okay.
When they take it to the workplaces. What is it? It's called sexy mobile dentistry.
Sexy?
That is what we call it.
Sexy mobile
Yeah.
dentistry.
It's not impetus.
I mean, which one?
It
is
can't
Impetus.
Be, it can't be impetus and sexy.
Impetus dental.
No.
Yeah.
Depends what you're into.
All right,
Yeah.
forget it.
Yeah, it depends on what you're into. Yeah.
All right, I'm the
Write that
outcast
down.
now.
But
Okay.
what happened was I worked in public health with these mobile, you know, these traditional mobile pop-up clinics. And it was right around the time when telehealth was taking off, right around the time when there were mumblings of teledentistry, right? Mostly from Smile Direct Club, he
Yep.
should not be named.
Yeah.
And it was one of these things where it was like, okay, I'm in public health, mobile dentistry. We revamped the program to include teledentistry, and it just, I can't even tell you how that program exceeded
Yeah.
beyond expectations. We could see so many more patients. And I was sitting there thinking, in northern Minnesota, in the dark, I was sitting there thinking, this is not just for public health.
Yeah.
All of this is for everybody. And this was pre-pandemic. This was a long time ago. And it was right when Uber was taking off and DoorDash and all of that stuff. And I said, this is the way of the future. We're going to have the
Absolutely.
brick and mortar, but we'll have an arm into the
Yeah.
workplace or the home. We'll have an arm into the phone.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that is the most efficient business model you can get for dentistry. And so that's where it all came from. So then I said, I'm going to make it my mission to just educate the dental community that mobile dentistry is not just for public health communities.
Right.
You can make a lot of money. Your P&L can go off the charts if you implement these things and start thinking beyond the brick and mortar. And we're just so used to patients coming
Yeah.
to us.
Yep.
And it's kind of it's a mindset change.
Well, virtual dentistry promotes in-person dentistry.
Yeah.
That's
That's
the goal.
right.
And I mean,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
that's what I think. I don't think a lot of us have the full picture or see the broader image. You know, dentistry is a contact sport, so there's only so much we're going to be able to do in virtually, but it's going to promote that in-person.
Yeah.
You know,
But I
practice.
think that's the dentist mindset, that we see everything as competition instead of complementary, right?
Yeah.
Like there's so many things out there that could really be assisting us. So, you know, for example, you know, another dentist opens up a couple of doors down and we immediately see them as competition.
Yeah.
When instead we could go over, make a great contact. This happened to me in Conway, South Carolina, when, you know, there weren't that many patients per dentist there. And a fella came in, he was involved in the AGD, we started going to courses together, and literally, we just talked about the things we each liked doing, and we were sending stuff to each other.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's like,
How awesome is that?
right, like that.
Yeah.
But everyone in dentistry, it's so ingrained in our heads that anybody out there doing something similar to us is our competitor.
Yeah.
Right, and
Jeff,
and I
you don't
see virtual
realize
that.
I
that
love
with
that.
landlines back in the day, you were practicing virtual dentistry.
Yeah.
There was just an analog
can
component
with
that
the
you all
string.
couldn't get past.
I did have a bag phone.
Okay, good,
Okay.
good.
I did have a
I
bag
had
phone.
a bag phone.
What
I
is
had a bag
that?
phone. Yeah.
You had a bag phone
Yeah,
too?
but we were never allowed to use it. because
Hell no,
my
'cause
dad
it's-
was like, it was like $1.
It was
a minute.
82
Yeah, I
cents
was
a
gonna
minute.
say, I just made a call. It was only
Yeah.
$74.
82 cents a minute. Yeah, with a
It took me
25%
forever to
startup
get
fee.
texting because it was 10 cents a text. And
Wait,
I
wait,
was
let
like,
me turn the
no, I know
antenna
my
up.
friends. Yeah.
Yeah, but bringing us back.
Sorry.
No, I mean, I
Imagine
started it.
virtual
Oh, hey
dentistry
Jeff,
was
did you see
that?
those cars over there?
Oh, a red ball?
Those are awesome. One of them's got a bow on it.
Anyway.
Anywho.
Focus.
Anywho.
All right, last thing I want to chat about because
Okay.
I think this is I started catching wind of it actually last year at the Denobi Awards. Let's
Yeah,
talk about it.
I want to hear about
Let's
this.
talk
I
about
want
it.
a Denobi Award. What can I do?
Do you? Well, you can nominate
Okay, we'll
yourself.
talk about. Oh,
Are you going to nominate yourself? Say it to the
You
camera.
have to nominate yourself.
I would like to nominate Dr. Chad Duplantis for a Denobi Award. But secondly, I would like to
When did
nominate
this become a show of one?
Dentist in the Know for a
Yeah.
Denobi Award. Okay, sorry.
Did you hear?
he
Secondly, now we know who the team players are.
But
Like,
no, I was just responding
Right
to
now
her
we know,
virtual
yeah.
command.
And we don't.
I was
We know.
responding to her virtual command. She said, nominate yourself. Now
It's
you
not a
nominate
virtual
yourself.
command, it was an
It's a
in-
major
That was an
award.
in-person.
That was
Yeah.
an in-person command.
Yeah,
Well, okay, so here we go.
No, I'm,
in person to make a
I'm
virtual
a little
command.
more selfless
Yeah,
than
it's
you,
fine.
Chad.
Let's
Yeah,
talk
okay.
about the
Sorry,
Denobi.
go ahead.
Let's talk about Denobi's, guys.
I do. I want to hear about this.
Okay, so here's what happened. About 7 or 8 years ago, we did a review of all the award programs in dentistry. And at that point, there weren't that many. Now there's like,
There are a bunch.
A
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
so at that point, we found out they were mostly for dentists, and they were mostly Lifetime Achievement Awards. And we were like, no one wants to win an award when you're old and gray. And what we really want to do at our heart is to support those who are not recognized in the industry. So we want to dig into all the corners and under the beds everywhere in dentistry and pull out the folks who are making significant change in the here and now. And that's what Denobi's is all about. So we launched it over COVID because everyone was just so depressed out of their minds. We
Yeah.
were
So
like,
that's
"Hey,
not
what's
that
going
old.
on?" No, it's 4 years old. Yeah, we wanted to call it Dentistry's Oscars.
Okay.
Lots of trademark issues with that.
Yeah,
Yes.
I would imagine so.
But that's the premise, and it's not a popularity contest. It's not pay to play. You can't it is not one of those. This is when you win, you belong. And so nominations open October to December. You can self-nominate, and the reason for that is because we're big proponents of, not everyone's going to put you first. You've got to put yourself first. So you could wait your whole life just waiting around for somebody to
Lift you up.
yes, when you can do it yourself and you can make a bigger change because you've done that.
Yeah.
So October through December, nominations open. In January, a short list comes out that's not very short. It's like 50 people long. So we usually have a couple hundred nominations from around the world.
But usually the most handsome people win, right?
I mean, we'll see this year. And then in March, every March,
We'll see this year. We'll see.
We'll see.
Every
Keep your
March.
hopes up, Jeff.
we have a.
You're saying there's a chance.
1 in a million.
I mean, we'll see. Are you in a dark
So-
corner? We can play.
Yeah.
So every March, then we have the gala, and that night, 10 individuals win and 1 clinical team wins. Because again, our clinical teams are not
Yeah.
getting enough recognition for working together as a unit for doing
That's
good
awesome.
things.
I love that.
I love that.
Yeah.
I see this growing.
Yeah.
Oh, it is.
Like best lead podcaster, best supporting podcaster, best news
are you gonna
podcaster,
Best guy you're just kind of
best hygienist that's moved on to other side gigs and is
Best
making a
podcaster,
name
yes.
for themselves.
I mean,
Yeah.
There's
we
so
can
many
make it what we
categories.
want.
Best
No,
Yeah.
like in all
sympathy
honesty though, I
case.
really do see this growing, and I will say, I've seen the highlights and I've seen some of the awardees, I guess if you will, or the recipients. I'm impressed.
They're all awesome people.
I'm
Yeah.
very,
They're all
very,
awesome
very
people.
impressed.
It's great
So
Yeah.
I had no idea, because maybe it's common nowadays that we say kind of, what is this? But this is how we learn what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had no idea it was 4 years old, but I've always been impressed by the recipients. So kudos to you for
Yeah.
that.
Love
yeah.
that so much.
And
Yeah.
it's even funny because sometimes those who are nominated, this happens more than you would think. People get nominated and they call me and they're like, Melissa, I don't want to walk on a stage and win an award. I'm not that kind of person. And I say, I know. That's why you've been nominated. That's
Yeah.
what makes you so special. This is not about ego. This is not about popularity. This is about honoring you.
And that's really the dental past, right? Like that's how dentistry has been. It's been a big ego stroking
Yeah.
kind of, you're in the club, you're
Yes.
not in the club kind
Yeah.
of thing. So I really appreciate
The
what
club
you-
is expanding and getting cooler,
yeah,
actually.
yeah, yeah. No,
Yeah.
I appreciate what you're doing with that,
Thank
because
you.
that's really what existed in the past in dentistry.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's
I would
hard
agree.
coming into that.
Yeah.
That's
As
right.
a young person, as a woman, as a newbie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
I
Melissa,
have
go
to
ahead.
ask,
Sorry, go ahead.
Where did Denobi come from? Give me the origin
It's a
of the
mountain in
name.
Kenya.
So
I believe it's
is-
an old wooden ship.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, we can combine all of that and make
Yeah.
a story. ChatGPT can make a story for us.
Okay.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
right.
And all
On the
that.
origins
Yeah.
of Denobi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so it is an Irish surname. So when we were coming up with Denobis, my good friend and business partner and co-founder, Sonia Dunbar, which if you don't know her,
We need to know.
We
she's
need to.
amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
We were texting back and forth all these different names, and one of them auto-corrected to Denobi. And we were like,
That's awesome.
can this work?
Oh, I don't hate that.
Right.
Yeah.
Can it work?
Yeah.
And it almost sounds dental enough.
It does.
Yeah,
But
it
yeah,
does.
it's attached. I don't know. So now we say it's the Denobodies in dentistry. Like that's
Nobody.
that's the running joke now.
So,
Okay, now I know we
Now
have a chance.
I know we've got an
So-
opportunity.
as we're kind of coming to close here, I got a question. How old are your kids?
9 and 7.
Okay. This is something that I think a lot of people take for granted. Here are two influential women here, Jennifer and Melissa,
Blind.
that have
Yeah.
kids that have a mom life and have a dental life and are really making changes in the profession. So I think maybe Jeff and I should give a commendation to these
Wait.
two
So much.
and all the other moms
Yeah.
out there, because to me, I mean, half the time we can't even get the being a father part right.
Dude,
Yeah.
us,
Yeah.
we get two things
Yeah.
on our plate, and we're like, no, dude.
Yeah.
I'm out.
I know.
I can't handle
I know.
This is not gonna work.
It's always impressive to
and
me, the
it
juggling
never
act.
approaches.
Yeah.
And when, when we put this together, and I knew, I was like, you're never gonna meet a busier
Yeah.
person that can get more done
Yeah.
in your life. And honestly, there's like a saying. I don't remember what the
If you
saying.
want to get something done, ask a busy person.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Oh, that's
and.
good.
Yeah.
That's good.
But honestly, we applaud you because, we know number one is taking care of children and being a great mom, but it is so impressive when people can do that and then still manage to have influence in the industry and be able to use their creative and intellectual skills. So it's just so appreciated.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Yeah, so
Big hand.
thanks to the moms,
All the
Yeah.
moms out
the
there.
moms in
We're gonna air
dentistry.
this
I
on
mean,
Mother's
there's
Day.
We should.
no, but I mean,
It
really,
is.
there's a
It's-
lot that goes into it. So I just
Yeah.
I sit here and I hear all that both of you do, and I'm like,
Chad, I can't do it. I got a hangnail here. Yeah. There's no way I can make this work.
Bedroom. Yeah. I'm
the
out.
sad
You're
part
week
is
or two or
he's
12.
been
I'm
he's
not
been
sure.
complaining about that all weekend.
Yeah.
No, I'm
all,
teasing.
all
no,
week.
no, I'm kidding. Hey,
It's a bunion. I knew it.
everybody, thank you all very much. Melissa, thank you. Thank you for all you do for dentistry. I'm blown away. I mean, the Denobi, everything you talked about was great, but the Denobi Awards, when I find out you're kind of one of the masterminds behind it, holy
Yeah, it's
crap,
so
that's
fun.
awesome.
Yeah,
So
So,
fun.
I kind of want one now.
yeah.